Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. How is everyone? I hope you are doing well. It is evening after work. I can't believe I got some energy, honey, because I work with them young people. I work with middle schoolers, okay? And there are many times it's just like I come home and I crash, okay? And I'm like, what did I do today? I didn't even do that much today for me to feel sleepy like this. And it's like, you don't realize how much you did, especially working with young people, especially working with people that in that age group. And I know like, a lot of times people feel like, the age group, they don't want to deal with that age group, because that's an interesting age group. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy it. Like I said before, I've always worked with young people in that particular age group. Like I used to work with young people a lot in church and stuff. I think I mentioned that on another video. And I looked, I said, wait a minute, I always work with that age group. They keep you on your toes. They keep you on your feet, in more ways than one. And they're really, really sweet. A lot of them are really, really sweet, So, but anyway, so I got some energy today. Okay, I am alive and kicking. So we are going to do the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, my last the video on the four noble truths just premiered. And I'm like, okay, let me go on and do this Noble Eightfold Path, because what do we find out about the four noble truths? We found out one, to live is to suffer. 2, suffering comes from desire. 3, to end suffering in desire. And 4, the fourth noble truth is release from suffering is possible and can be attained by what? Following the Noble Eightfold Path. This is going to help you in desire, okay? Which in turn will what? In suffering. So the Noble Eightfold Path, the way to inner peace. All right, let's get into it. The 8 steps of the path actually form a program that the Buddha taught will lead us toward liberation from the impermanence and suffering of reality. Okay, we already talked about impermanence when we went over what was it called? The 3 marks of reality. All right, his notion of impermanence. We no permanent soul even. Okay, from the Buddhist point of view. Okay, and the suffering of reality. Together, they describe 3 main goals. What are those 3 main goals? All 8 of these 8 steps here. This Noble Eightfold Path. This way to inner peace. What does it do? Describes 3 main goals. One is to live life objectively, to live kindly, and to cultivate inner peace. Put all three of these things together. This is what it is leading us to, this path of inner peace, to face life objectively, okay, as best that you possibly can, I would imagine. All right, to live kindly, okay, and to cultivate inner peace. Although they are often called steps, the 8 recommendations are not practiced, sequentially, but rather all together. So it ain't like, okay, I here's the first one, I accomplished that, however long it took to accomplish. Now time to go on to step 2. No, all of these, okay, are to be practiced, excuse me, together. It is usually translated, the Noble as it is usually translated, excuse me, the Noble Eightfold Path sounds so old-fashioned, okay, that many readers may not immediately perceive its practicality. But keep in mind that the word right in the following list is a translation of a word that might be better translated as correct or complete, okay? So we got these. Tell me what these 3 steps are, Kenyatta. Okay, the first one is what? Right understanding. To have a right understanding. I recognize the impermanence of life, the mechanism of desire, and the cause of suffering. So just, in all that getting, remember that scripture. Okay, for those of you who are familiar, I believe it's in Proverbs, I believe. Okay, and all that getting what? Get an understanding. And all that getting understanding. We will see many similarities in all of these religions, okay? And all that get an understanding. In other words, right understanding, recognize the impermanence of life, recognize from the Buddhist perspective, Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha, recognize from his perspective, again, that nothing is permanent. Everything changes. Our identity changes. Your soul isn't even, permanent, okay? Different from Hinduism, if you all remember, okay? Recognize the mechanism of desire. Okay, what is the mechanism of desire? What causes desire? Okay, and then what does desire cause? Once again, suffering. So number 1 is to have a right understanding. The second one is right intention. Okay, what are your intentions? Okay, but recognize your intentions. Okay, but in recognizing your intentions here, what have right intention? Okay, what is the explanation here? My thoughts and motives are pure, not tainted by my emotions and selfish desires. Okay, that's just kind of checking oneself. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that would be falling under, shadow work. I'm not 100% sure. But nevertheless, looking at oneself. Okay, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. Looking at myself, checking oneself, putting oneself in check, putting oneself in order. Because the reality is, like as the saying goes, and no one is perfect. Everyone, we make mistakes, or poor choices, or just choices, period. Okay, what's behind my intentions? What's behind my motives? Okay, are they pure? Are my thoughts pure? Are my motives pure? Okay, or am I coming with some kind of selfish desire? Okay, or are my thoughts and my motives, and the things that I do and the things that I say, the things that I'm working towards, okay, in whatever way now, okay, are they tainted by my emotions? Okay, am I allowing my emotions to rule me? Remember we talked about happiness, okay, and the Four Noble Truths, okay, and it's like, Buddha was like, be striving to be happy, but strive for inner peace, okay, happiness, this a fleeting emotion. All right. The third one, right speech. I speak honestly and kindly in positive ways, avoiding lies, exaggeration, and harsh words. This kind of reminds me of the 42 Laws of Ma'at. I have not this and I have not that, the way it's written here. But once again, right speech. I speak honestly. Do I speak on? Again, it's checking yourself. What are your motives? What are your intentions? Do I have an understanding of what moves me? Not what are my desires? What are the mechanisms of my desires and are my desires causing me suffering? Here I have a right understanding, okay, or getting a right understanding, get a right understanding, or getting a right understanding. Okay, working on myself, developing an understanding of who I am, what moves me. Okay, and then this right intention, are my motives pure? Okay, am I causing myself more suffering by making moves based off of what it is that I desire? Okay, which in turn, from this perspective here, is causing me suffering. All right. Am I speaking honestly? Am I speaking kindly? Am I being positive? Am I speaking in positive ways? Am I avoiding lies? Am I avoiding exaggeration? Am I avoiding harsh words? Okay. And I wouldn't imagine that this is something that's just going to you're just going to get it right overnight. No, this is, a process here. All right. Then right action. My actions do not hurt any other being that can feel hurt, including animals. Okay. I avoid stealing and sexual conduct that would bring hurt. Right action. All right. Um, you know, and recognize and understanding that, I would, not I would think I know, if this would hurt me. Okay, in my humanity. Okay, would it cause hurt to another? Now, if you just don't care about, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? That's different. These are for those who want to end suffering, okay, from the Buddhist perspective, all right? These are those who, want to be on a certain path of whatever's going to bring them, again, end suffering, whatever suffering may be in their life, okay, whatever, caused by desire, all right? So, you know, is if it's going to hurt another, then I'm going to avoid doing that. And let me stop and think, before I move, before I speak, let me check my motives and intentions. Will this hurt another, including animals? Animals are included here. So what? I avoid stealing. I don't steal. Okay. I avoid sexual conduct that would bring hurt. Is this type of thing, it's not saying avoiding sex. Okay. But avoiding sexual conduct that would bring hurt, okay, to another person, physically, emotionally, whatever the case may be, spiritually even. All right. Okay. And I want to say this, in any realm, in any way. Okay. There are people who like to play in them realms. Okay, they like to do things in them realms. Okay, so don't allow yourself to think, well, I just did that in, the astral realm or whatever. That don't count. Yeah, that counts. Okay, did it bring that person some hurt? Okay, did you violate that person? Did they give you permission to come to them and, do whatever it is that you felt that you wanted to do to them for whatever reason? Okay, to get you some energy or whatever, because you're afraid to talk to that person. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna come, get in this my trick bag. You understand, and do some shit. Okay, that could possibly cause them hurt. So I think that goes without saying that all of this counts, okay, in that arena as well. Right work, my job even does no harm to myself or others. I remember, growing up in the church, that was a thing. That was a thing. Like, we used to talk about in church, they used to talk about, like, if you saved, you're born again Christian or whatever, and now this may not be for all denominations. Okay, I grew up in Pentecostal church. Okay, but the example that I'm going to give may not. Okay, like, there was this thing, you don't drink alcohol, you don't smoke. Okay, so then you shouldn't have a job, where you have to distribute alcohol, or you have to distribute cigarettes. Okay, or because it's why don't they do it? They just don't do it just for the hell of it. No, it's messing up your temple, and the temple, your body. Okay, it messed up your body, and your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. So it is frowned upon, okay, to have a job that would, bring harm, okay, to yourself and to others, and distributing those things that bring harm to the body would, count as that. All right, not just harm to yourself, but harm to others. Okay, and I just use those two. The reason I said maybe not just my denomination. There are other denominations who speak against that and who preach against that. When I say my denomination, I mean the one I grew up in. But there are some, for example, where drinking alcohol is not looked at as a sin. However, the indulgence of it is. You know what I'm saying? So there's a possibility that might still flow. There's some denominations where, smoking cigarettes is not looked at as a sin, but the indulgence in it is, especially if it's about to, you're about to cough up a lung. You understand what I'm saying? you know, um, and it's causing you some bodily harm, because once again, your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And again, I'm just showing some similarities here, like with that we find in, Christianity, that we will see amongst many of these religions. Okay. Um, so I would assume that even with the right action, not hurting animals, then you wouldn't have any kind of job that would, entail you hurting animals. Okay. Or maybe even working like in a meat factory or some shit like that, all right, where the animals have already been slaughtered, and whatever they do in the meat factory, the packing and whatnot. Okay. That probably would still, you wouldn't want to do that either. All right. Right. And I'm talking about here from this Buddhist perspective. All right. Right effort with moderation, I can consistently strive to improve. Okay. With right effort, we talk about that, work toward what you want, put work into it. Okay. To make things happen, to make, the things that you want happen. All right. Right meditation or right mindfulness. I use disciplines of meditation and focused awareness to contemplate the nature of reality more deeper. So, and isn't that what the Buddha did when he sat up under that tree that became known as the Bodhi tree? He basically sat there and meditated, okay, until he was enlightened to the questions that he had, which were about suffering. Okay, why is there suffering in the world? All right, okay, and we do hear, a great deal of talk in our world nowadays, okay, in the Western world, about meditation and how valuable it is to you, okay, and it does help you to concentrate, it helps you to focus, even so much to the point where they were, at one point, I remember quite a few years ago, they were talking about how they were developing, having meditation in the schools, as opposed to, well, okay, I want to say for a disciplinary measure. And what I mean is, I'm talking about the word discipline as more than just punishment, okay, to help the children who, might have been having some issues, and probably all of them, really, to help them focus. All right. But again, this will help you contemplate nature, okay, the nature of reality more deeply. Okay, and the eighth one, the last one is right contemplation. I cultivate states of blissful inner peace, which is called samadhi. I cultivate states of blissful inner peace. There's really nothing here, like he said, the author of the text said that, they may sound old fashioned, but we hear a lot of these things now, we see a lot of it in social media, falling under the, um, falling under the idea or what we would, call spirituality, and there's really nothing here, or just, happy, I don't want to say happy, positive quotes, okay, things to encourage people, okay, or things to help people go more in a positive direction. There's nothing here that's just like, you know, what? You know what I'm saying? Out of the ordinary, or doesn't seem normal, or just seems, that's too hard to do, challenging. All of these are challenging because just like in Hinduism, they talk about reincarnation. The human stage is a challenging stage because what do we have to deal with? The ego, and our emotions. Okay. Next, there's only 15 minutes long. Next, we will talk about the influence of Indian thought on early Buddhist teachings. And I'll go ahead and do it right now since this hasn't taken long. Early Buddhist teachings accepted certain elements of Indian thought that are today shared to some extent by Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. All right. One of those is ahimsa, which means what? Do no harm. Okay, foremost among the elements adopted from the Indian worldview of the Buddhist day was the ideal of ahimsa, which means non-harm, no harm. Okay, how ideal is it? It is not clear how ideal it is, okay, and it hasn't always been followed, all right? But we do know that Vedic sacrifice at the time of the Buddha sometimes included animal sacrifice, all right? Animal sacrifice in Hindu practice, according to the text, can still be found, particularly in Nepal and Bali. All right, we're going to find maybe not every single one of these religions that we're going to go over here with as I'm doing this series, but we definitely find some form of sacrifice, animal sacrifice, human sacrifice. All right, I would even dare say that the sacrifice of God, okay, which I feel like, which we find in Christianity, okay. And I know that may sound heavy to people, but for those who in the Christian faith who believe that Jesus was the Son of God, and then they even told us that Jesus was God God incarnate, okay, God in flesh, and was he not sacrificed? All right, so let's continue on here. And I'm not saying that from all perspectives. I'm saying that from that particular perspective. And I'm not saying that Christians will say that I'm correct, okay? But it's just kind of like, when you kind of piece it together, that's what you're saying. All right. Okay, but let's keep on going. All right. But we also know that the idea of ahimsa was already prominent in India before the time of the Buddha. Okay, this idea of do no harm became before Siddhartha Gautama, okay, and then becoming the Buddha. All right, it may have ancient and pre-Vedic origins. For Buddhism, ahimsa is fundamental, okay? It holds to the cause that suffering to any being is cruel and unnecessary, okay? Any being, okay, including animals. It is cruel, okay? And it's not necessary. It is cruel to mistreat others. It is cruel to cause harm to others, other living things and animals included, all right? Life is already hard enough for all of us, okay? Why put that on them? Ahimsa discourages causing not only physical pain, okay, but psychological hurt, okay, or the exploitation of another, okay? Do no harm, physical, psychologically, spiritually, in every aspect of our humanity, all right, and exploiting others. Upon reaching a real understanding that every being that feels can suffer, okay? Every being that feels, once again, can suffer. The individual gains wider sympathy. It is then natural and satisfying for the individual to live with gentleness, okay? Once we have what does he call it? Right understanding, okay? But it takes right understanding to have this kind of sympathy and empathy, or maybe more so empathy for others, other living things, all right? Ahimsa is a high ideal and not always easy to achieve, all right? There will always be a gap between the idea and the actual practice in different Buddhist cultures and among individuals. All right. No matter how, murky the definition, of the best action may be, the ideal is fairly clear. A compassionate person does everything possible to avoid causing suffering, okay? Right understanding. They have a right understanding, but I would think that more so a right understanding of self, therefore, to be able to have it of others, all right? Ashamed of roughness and full of mercy. I like that, He dwells compassionate and kind to all creatures that have life, all right? The empathetic ideal has been interpreted as recommending, when possible, a vegetarian or semi-vegetarian diet, okay, that we find in Buddhism. It warns against involvement in any job or sports that would hurt others, okay? Any job or sports that would contact sports, boxing, football, that type of thing. I don't mean soccer, I mean, we call it, what we call football in in the Western world, okay? That's what they call soccer. In the rest of the world, we call it soccer. But anyway, uh, those types of sports, okay, where you have contact sports that would hurt others, even things such as being a butcher. Here go this job, okay. What did it say? Right work, okay. Such as being a butcher, a hunter, a fisherman, a soldier, or a weapon maker. Okay, once again, all right, because what we don't want to do any harm to anyone, not ourselves and not to any other living being, all right. The result is a way of life that is harmonious and free of remorse. Shit, now you ain't gotta go, you ain't gotta worry about the fact that, or when the guilt and shame hit you one day that because you've hurt someone, you understand what I'm saying? A lot of times I was talking to somebody at one of the stores that I like to go to, one of the convenience stores, and she was like, when you get older, a lot of times you can do things to people in life, but it may not hit you until you get older. You know what I'm saying? You going into that middle age and you crossing in, and your whole idea of your worldview, or maybe not so much your perspective or how you look at life, things change. Okay, it just automatic change. Ain't nothing you can fight. Ain't a pill that's gonna fight it. You understand what I'm saying? As far as I know, at this particular time, it doesn't appear to be. Ain't a pill gonna fight it. You gonna change. Your thoughts are gonna change. The way you look at the world, reality is changing. People say, I ain't gonna never change. Yeah, you're going to. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't want to, your thoughts are going to change. How you see them. I'm not saying everything single thing that you think about or how you look at every single thing, but there's going to be change. So hey, like the meme say, I go to sleep well at night. You free of remorse. Well, shit, I haven't done anything to anyone. I haven't hurt anyone. I haven't hurt myself. I haven't hurt others. I'm free and in the clear. So that brings peace, this inner peace. Okay, meaning what? Lessening suffering. Okay, because there's going to be suffering. Okay, he never said there wasn't going to be any suffering. There's going to be suffering, but there's a way that you can lessen suffering. All right. The next one here, Indian thought of early Buddhist teachings is the soul and karma. Now let's see what it says. The Buddha rejected the notion of a soul. Okay, he rejected the notion of an unchanging spiritual reality. Okay, the soul. All right, but he accepted some notion of rebirth. Okay, I really think that's really interesting. Here, he rejected the notion of a soul. Okay, how we might then ask, can an individual be reborn if there is no soul? How is a person reborn if there is no soul? Buddhism holds that while there is no individual soul, the elements of personality that make up an individual can recombine and continue from one lifetime to another. It's not a soul. There's no soul here. Okay. But what makes up you, okay, the elements of you that make you up can recombine, from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. All right. I'll give you an example here. Buddha uses an example of a flame passing from one candle to another, a pattern caused by a breeze that passes over many blades of grass. The candles are separate, but only one flame passes between each candle. The blades of grass are rooted in separate places, but the pattern of the breeze travels across them and what unites them in movement. All right. Now, closely related to the notion of rebirth is karma. Karma determines how one will be reborn. Remember, from lifetime to lifetime, whatever you did in your last life is going life is going to determine who and what you're going to be in your state of being in the next life. All right. That is karma. In Hinduism and Jainism, karma is something that clings to the soul. In Hinduism, I said, in Jainism, as it passes from life to life in reincarnation, it works automatically. Good actions produce karma that brings good effects, such as intelligence, high birth, wealth. All right. When we talked about the caste system. Okay, remember that in Hinduism. Okay, now what do bad actions? You know, you may be born into a higher caste. Good actions in one life. Okay, what do bad actions produce? Bad actions produce karma that brings the opposite, including rebirth into animal and even insect life forms. All right, or maybe being born into a lower caste. Okay, that remember in your life, your current life, you're not going, you ain't working your way out of it, you ain't educating your way out of it, you're not marrying your way out of it. That's it. All right. Because the Buddha rejected the existence of a soul, explaining how karma works is obviously more difficult in Buddhism. Okay. It is, we just kind of try to go over it. All right. Your elements of your personality combining. All right, and from one lifetime to another. All right, it is thought to accompany and affect the elements of personality that reappear. We said that. Regardless of the specific manner, karma and rebirth were, powerful ideas in India already. By the time Buddha came along, all right, that they continued on in early Buddhism, and from there have spread well beyond India. All right. They are still highly influential concepts in Buddhist countries today. Okay, so still you find the concept in Buddhism, regardless of whether he believed in his soul or not, because of course, this Buddhism came out of India, which you have, the Vedic religion, and it was, in Hinduism, that was very much a part of it. All right. So regardless of whether he, believed in a soul or not, he seemed to have found a way to make it fit this idea of karma. Okay. It was just, like I said, such a powerful concept and had existed long, before probably, well, it seems to have, the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama came along. All right. So the concept still exists in Buddhism. All right. And the last one here is nirvana, all right? In Buddhism, as in Hinduism, the everyday world of change is called what? Samsara, a term that suggests decay and pain. Samsara, okay? That coming back over and over and over again. Got to get off that wheel, all right? Liberation from samsara. Remember we talked about that, liberation from samsara in Hinduism, which Buddhism has elements of it. Okay, I just went over why it does. All right, liberation from samsara is attained in nirvana in Buddhism. The notion has many similarities with the Hindu goal of moksha, or once again liberation, being set free from on that wheel that constantly live, being born over and over and over again. Okay, it's like, who wants that? Okay, people want, the idea is to be set free from that. All right. Nirvana is thought of as Nirvana is thought of as existence beyond limitation. Remember, we talked about limitation in Hinduism. All right, and it's a problem. It's I don't know if that's the best word to use. Okay, but we are limited. Okay, beings. All right. Many people in the West associate nirvana with a psychological state because it is described as evoking joy and peace. But perhaps it is better to see nirvana as being indescribable and beyond all psychological states. Okay, going beyond this idea of joy and peace. Although reaching nirvana occurs rarely, isn't that something? It's a rare occurrence. Okay. It is theoretically possible to attain nirvana during one's lifetime. The Buddhist is said to have entered nirvana at the time of enlightenment. Okay. When he became enlightened, okay, awakened. This is when he became known as the Buddha. Remember that word is a title for the awakened one or the enlightened one, all right? And when he became awakened, this is when he entered into Nirvana, okay? Beyond a psychological state of being. It wasn't just, okay, now I have this understanding. His whole life being, everything was completely different, changed, all right? Once a person has reached Nirvana, rebirth is finished. Okay, once you reach, and according to this, is rare. Can it be attained in a person's lifetime? Can others become known as a Buddha or become a Buddha, becoming awakened and enlightened? Sure, but it's a very rare occurrence. Okay, rebirth is finished, and in a culture that believes believes that individuals have already been born many times before this current life, and into rebirth can be a welcomed thought. Okay, so it ain't gonna be, I guess I see you next lifetime. No, nobody wants to be, the people want to get off that wheel. You know what I'm saying? I want to come back here. You know what I'm saying? How many lifetimes have I lived? Do you actually remember? Hell no, but you don't want to keep coming back. I guess you would have some indicators if you were born into, a negative state of affairs. You understand what I'm saying? Like he gave here, poverty, in this caste system at the bottom, I don't know about animal and insect. I don't know how that would work, okay? But then, okay, then my last life must have been some, I must have did some shitty shit. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't want to have to come back here. So let me do the best I can, in this particular life so that my next life will be better, So that would be an indication that, hey, I've obviously lived before this, so how many lifetimes, and the idea is to get off that wheel in Hinduism, and you find that same idea or notion here in Buddhism as well. Get off the wheel. No more rebirth. How do we do it? Okay, and we talked about in Hinduism how you do it, and we just talked about in Buddhism how you do it. Okay, so Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha, obviously he entered Nirvana, so guess what? He was not born again, okay, according to this, all right? It would just stand to reason. All right. Okay, then we have here the early development of Buddhism. Now, I may not go over that, okay? My idea here was to just give you a foundational understanding of the various religions. But then again, I might go over it. Like I said in one video, I'm looking through these pages. I got so much shit underlined that I was teaching class, and finally got to the point where I was okay, I can't keep going over this. I only got 16 weeks. I got to move on to the next. All right. But I'm not quite sure, that's necessary. But we might do it, I can't never tell from moment to moment what I'm gonna do and what I ain't gonna do until I look and say something hit me. Say, okay, I think that's important. I'm just going ahead and do that. And then one day something hit me. Say, time to move on to something else. All right. So we'll see. I'd like to thank you all for joining. Thank you all for supporting me with this religious studies series. Thank you all who have subscribed to my channel. Check out my website, kenyattasintuition.com, as well as that's it. I think that's all I got to say. All right. Y'all be blessed. Peace.